Hello, this is Robert Gadarian. This week we are talking about strings and I/O. So we'll be looking at strings in a deeper way and seeing what they can do. I/O is input and output, so we will get to those later. Last week we already saw strings. They're actually not new to us at this point. So we saw that we could use squiggly brackets, which is arguably the technical term, to represent a placeholder within our string. And within those squiggly brackets, we could put a full colon S to say there's a string going in here, a full colon D to say that there is a decimal integer going here, meaning base 10 number integer, and full colon F for a floating point number, which means that there is numbers after the decimal point, and that we could format them nicely and stuff. But this does cause an issue. These these squiggly brackets, now have meaning. So they're actually a special character within our string. So if we jump over to our code, what we want to print as a challenge to ourselves is some variable, and then we want some squiggly brackets after that. So what I want is one string and squiggly brackets. So you can see that I'm formatting and putting in one string into my first placeholder. Cool, good. This should be fine, right? What could possibly go wrong? Oh, no. Replacement index 1 out of range for a positional args tuple. Args tuple. Argument tuple being a data type in Python we have not touched yet. So that's a problem. What this is trying to tell me is that index 0, because we index at 0, is getting one string dumped into it. This is an index 1, and there's nothing getting inserted into here. It thinks that this is a placeholder, and it thinks it's doing me a favor. At this point, it's not doing what I want it to do. So I need to change these second brackets to be something else so that it'll be interpreted as a squiggly bracket. So enter escape characters. In the case of squiggly brackets, all we have to do is double them up. So in our code, we want to say, double up this one, and that'll actually fix the other one too, and double up that one. Now when I run this, it will not work. Oh, ha ha ha. I actually warned you against this. Print is a function name, and I am overwriting it. I was not expecting this, but that's okay. So I want to rename this out from print, and then so I'm saying print is now a string, and you can see that I actually have that up here. And then it's saying, okay, this string, and I'm calling it as a function and passing and some stuff. So that doesn't work. I'm going to say, I actually just want to print this. There we go. I mentioned that I will have some mistakes in here. I'm so okay with that. I've been doing this for 18 years, and I still make stupid mistakes like that. It's okay to make mistakes, especially when you're just doing the stuff. Okay, so what we want is one string brackets, and now I am actually printing out one string and then the brackets. There might be a better way of doing this, and that is to break up the problem. So instead of having a format string, what we can say is, I want some brackets. And if I don't call format on this, this is no longer anything of meaning. It's just part of my string, and I can print them out. When I call format, that's when all of a sudden those things have meaning. So then I can say print out those brackets. Well, now I want to print out my word. I'm going to store this one string as a variable for us so that we can make this more generic. So the word, word bird. Oh, too many quotes. There we go. So I want to format in this one, the word, and over here I will say that I want the word and then some brackets after a space. That's a little bit tidier, isn't it? It's easier to read than whatever this garbage is up here, right? Like this is kind of icky. And it's hard to read, and it's like hard to remember why we're doubling up these brackets. And at a glance, it looks like a bug. And that's an interesting thing about code, that we can write something that means the same thing, but one way can be tidier. I would argue that this is much tidier than the text format double up stuff. I think that's kind of gross. But that comes with time. Sometimes I'll write it and it's super messy, and then this is really hard. Try throwing it away and writing it again. Chances are you'll write it better the second time. We can run into issues. You may have saw this in my code already because we're going to run it. What would this run? What would this print? It's kind of nasty looking. So visually, we could figure it out, and we should, and something we should be able to do, that this will compress down to one brace. This will compress down to one brace. This is a placeholder, so it'll be a single brace pointing that way, a single brace pointing that way, and then what will be printed there. And I deleted the wrong character from here. And if I run this, it will say what with the braces, like I said. Again, kind of nasty. Can we break this up? So I'm going to make that a little bit different and do the same thing I did above. So I'm going to print out that, and then string append the word what. I could have this as a variable like I did the word up here. But in this case, I'm pretty happy with this. And if I just run this, it's the same thing and arguably easier to read. Okay. So what if we want to have more than one line? So we want to print out something that has two different lines. So what we'd think about doing it first is print something, opening brace, 1, and this hit that enter key, and then 2, and then we're good. I have something red on here. So I'm going to go to full screen so you can actually see my hover over. Code analysis, end of line, EOL, while scanning string literal pyflakes, E. So pyflakes is something called a linter. That's good looking for these issues for us. And it means that, well, this isn't going to work. The clever way of fixing this, using 3 quotes. That was a multi-line string. We covered that last week. And then it should be happy, and then when I run it, it'll actually print it. Yeah, that's nice. But I want to print this as one line. And there is another escape sequence that we can use to do this. So 1 and /n2. Slash is a special character, and that is our escape character. And anything after the slash, depending on your programming language. In Python, it gets a little bit loose. Most programming languages, anything after the slash will be interpreted as a special character. Python plays it fast and loose and does actually help us. I'm going to show you what I mean in a moment. So /n is a new line, /t is a tab, and now we have to have a way to print a slash. So that's 2 slashes. So what we're going to do is go back to our code, and we're going to run this, and this will print out 1, 2. Hey! So what happens if I do a slash in front of this O? What is /O? Well, it's nothing. And Python knows that, and I need to print this. There we go. And it'll actually give me that slash. Yay, that's nice. But if I say none to, or new 1, 2, what is that going to print? Well, this /n is going to be interpreted as a new line. So it's going to be a new line, EW1, and the new line 2. Ew. Dad jokes. And that's not what we want. So we actually want this slash here to be print as a slash. So we dump in another slash. Oops, I got rid of my quote. And then that will be an escape sequence saying, I want a slash. And then it'll say new 1, new line 2. Yeah, which is actually what we want. You get used to these over time. Generally, you just kind of get busted because you kind of forgot about it. And that's okay. It happens with time. The most frequent time you're going to use this is with quotes. And that is because how do you print a quote within a quoted string? So quotes is equal to, so I want to say, using a single quoted string, it's a great day. Well, suddenly I'm not having a great day because that's not going to work. I'm sorry, so many dad jokes today. You can see I have a very angry X here saying code analysis invalid syntax. Well, that's not super helpful. But if I looked at the coloring, it gives me a little bit of a hint. It is only green for the word, the letters I and T. So only these two. So, oh, this is a string, and this is outside of a string, and this actually starts a new string back here that never gets closed. There's a lot of issues here. So 2 ways to solve this. One of them is to put a backslash and make that an escape sequence, saying, I want this to be a quote, not end of string. If I run that, it's a great day. I'm making fun of myself. Oh boy. I can do that again, but a tidier way to do this is to use double quotes on your string. Haha! That way that the single quote is not the end of our string, and then it'll work. This also happens if you try to have a quotation saying, Rob said, blah, 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 inside of a double quoted string. It's the same problem. And then again, use single quotes or double quotes. But if Rob said, it's a great day, all of a sudden we have both types of quotes inside of a string. It doesn't work. So let's actually write that up. Quotes. I'm reusing variables. It's not actually a good idea. Quotes is equal to Rob said, it's a great day. Well, now I have to do something clever. I need to end that and then end that. It's trying to help me and it's not really working. Okay, so now I actually, in this case, have to use an escape sequence. And it's actually really helping me here, invalid syntax. And it's giving me a little arrow pointing to it, which is bueno. I like it. So I have double quotes on my outside because I grew up in Java and you have to. So that means I have to break these double quotes to say that this is actually quotes inside of my string. The single quote I don't really care about. And then it'll actually print. So that is the most common use for it if you're trying to start mixing things. Well, that's terrible. So the slide was supposed to be about me showing you not the double quoted strings, but this stuff. It can be terrible. There are some terrible things here. We can make our lives better by breaking it down. I've already talked about this pretty much at length, so this slide is really out of place now. But it can be terrible with 3 R's if we're not careful. So let's talk about something that is beautiful and fantastic. This is called slicing. So this is ways for us to chop up a string. It feels weird at first. You kind of get to like it. So what we want is the ability to have a string, but only return part of it. So to look at this, we have to consider, what does a string actually look like? Well, within our computer world, we index at 0. You've heard me say that a number of times now, and that continues to be true. So if I have the word hello, the letter H is index 0, the letter E is index 1, and all the way up to the letter O, which is index 4. Okay, well, that's not completely obvious, but that's fine. That we can work with that. So the syntax is this. We use square brackets to say from a certain index, go all the way to and not including the second index. And you're going to hear me say that a lot in this class. That is a Python and programming thing. Our end index is generally not included. So I'm going to go over to my codes, and I'm going to do this all in my interactive browser here. So I'm going to have a string. I actually have quotes in here. Boom. Rob said it's a great day. And you can see it actually does some, it's got the break in there, the escape sequence. Cool. So I want just my name because I'm vain. So what I want is index 0, R, all the way up to the B, which is 0, 1, 2. So that means I want to go from 0 to 3. So I'm going to say quotes from 0 up to 3. And now let's just say Rob. Well, what if I want the word said? Well, oh boy. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. That was Rob. And a space. Said is index 5. So from 5, and I generally get this wrong, and off, there's something called an off by 1 error. This is where they come in. And said is 4 letters long, so that's going to be 9 because math. Oh boy, I got it wrong. I did count it right the first time. 4 plus 4 is 8, I'm told. Oh dear. Said. From the beginning point to the end point, not including the end point. There is some cool stuff we can do, which is start leaving things off, because Python is kind. What if I want Rob said? Well, I can just leave off the 0, and Python will just infer that I wanted to write a 0 there. So now I've just :8 will go all the way to the end. Can I leave them both off? That's going to be the whole string from the beginning to the end. What if I want everything after Rob said? Well, it's a comma and then everything else. Try this out. It's actually kind of fun. And then frequently what we'll have to do is actually just break it down. And this, I break it down the same way as I do in the slide, which is I have a string. So Rob said, and there's a comma, and it's a great day. I guess it was quote. Quotes count as characters. So then 0, whoops, thank you. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And you can see that I have some nice lines here. So if I said 2, 3, it'd be 2 up to and not including 3. It would just be B. If I had, I'll do this in green, say, let's do it's. Let's finish this off. Whoops. 12, 13, 14. And then I'm just going to finish it off. Rob said it's. If I wanted to just say it's with the quotes, well, that's 10 up to and including 15. So I actually want the 15. So that means that my slice would be, in brackets, 10 to 16. But I also see that's the end of my string. So 10 all the way to the end of my string would also work. Writing this out is a really good idea. And you just have to remember that you go up to and not include, right? So if I wanted Rob, it's from 0 to 3. 3 is up to and not included. It feels weird at first. It does get better just as you do it. And you're going to see that it is always done that way. And I'll explain why it's done that way once we start getting into arrays more. Can we put in negative numbers? What would happen if I put in -1? Let's say -4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. -6 to -1. Well, that's going to go from -6, which I just counted back, which is this quote, to -1, which is here. It'll actually go off the end of our string. This is a very Python only thing. This does not work in any other programming language I've ever met. So quotes from, I have a slightly different string, so I just want the word day, and I'm going to leave off the last quote. So from negative, I'm going to have to count this out, 1, oh, this is the one, 1, 2, 3, 4, -4 to -1. -4, -1, day. Try to get single words out from both ends, and it's good mental gymnastics, and you'll get a really good sense of what this is talking about. There is a third term I'm not telling you about. It'll print things backwards. So this is a joke about slicing and printing out pi from the end. I think it's funny. So try it out. I can show you stuff like that all day. Try printing out a grid of letters. Try getting a single word both ends and trying to not give yourself a headache. I hope you're having a good day, and I will see you in class.